welcome back to Definitely Not Definitive. I'm Ken.
And I'm Bethany.
And we're just a giddy couple in love that loves reacting to some Genshin Impact.
Giddy for Genshin.
Giddy for Genshin, and it's Triple Trailer Tuesday, people.
Woohoo.
So you know what that means? We're reacting to some Genshin Impact today, collected Miscellany. So we got Wanderer, Faruzan, and Alhaitham that we are checking out today for their collected Miscellany trailers. And if you want all of our reactions to Genshin Impact, we've done character drafts and whatnot, check out the description of this video because we got a playlist there for you. And if you want early ad-free access to Genshin Impact reactions, we have a link to Patreon there.
Yep.
Yeah, we're about a month ahead in our reactions for those. And finally, because it's Genshin Impact,
We have a drink.
we have a drink especially for this that we drink every time.
Klee Sparkling Bomb.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It's got pop rock, Ram.
Mhm.
She says it always, not this time.
There once was a palace, and in that palace was a puppet, sound asleep.
New narrator.
You know, I could just pretend that I don't remember what happened after that, and then make up some boring story and get this over with. But boring clearly isn't my style, nor is it the Wanderer's way of doing things. You could say his story is simple and straightforward, or horrendously complex, and both would be right. It all depends on the storyteller.
Are you sure it has to be me? Fine. Let's get this over with.
If you happen to run into this wanderer,
Grudging.
don't let his menacing expression make you nervous. He's really not all that hard to get along with. You just need to keep your distance, that's all. Don't provoke him, and he won't kick up a storm. Simple, isn't it?
Okay. It's a bit of a
He
dick.
doesn't like to talk about it much, but the wanderer has quite a lot of experience in forging weapons. So when the wanderer ascends bows and catalysts, it doesn't cost him as much mora. The Wanderer's normal attack can combo up to 3 wind blades, dealing animo damage. His charged attack consumes some stamina and creates a high-pressure wind blast in front of him after a short casting time, dealing AoE animo damage. The Wanderer's elemental skill harnesses the power of the air all around as he casts off the shackles of gravity, dealing AoE animo damage and rising into the air as he enters the wind-favored state. In this state, the Wanderer is unable to use plunging attacks, and his normal and charged attacks are converted to Kugo Fushodan and Kugo Tofukai, which deal increased damage over a wider AoE. Using Kugo Tofukai will not consume stamina. The Wanderer hovers in midair while in this state, continuously consuming Kugo Ryoku points to remain airborne.
That's pretty cool.
When the sprint button is pressed, instead of sprinting, the Wanderer consumes more
Fun.
Kugo Ryoku points to fly through the air more quickly. Holding sprint maintains
Yeah, that's
a
cool.
faster flying speed while consuming points at a faster rate. Pressing jump raises the Wanderer higher into the air at the cost of Kugo Ryoku points, and holding jump does so continuously. The wind-favored state ends when all Kugo Ryoku points are used up. The wind-favored state allows the Wanderer to do battle from midair, as well as explore difficult terrain more easily. Casting his elemental skill again while airborne brings the wind-favored state to an end. After unlocking the talent, Jade
pirate's ass.
Flower. If the Wanderer's elemental skill makes contact with Hydro, Pyro, Cryo, or Electro when cast, the wind-favored state provides different buffs depending on the element. Hydro increases the Wanderer's Kugo Ryoku point cap. Pyro increases the Wanderer's own attack. Cryo increases his crit rate. And Electro causes him to regain some elemental energy when Kugo Fushodan and Kugo Tofukai deal damage to enemies. A limited quantity of energy can be regained per set time period, and a maximum of 2 buffs can be gained at any one time. The force of wind cannot always be seen, but it can certainly be felt. After unlocking the talent, Gales of a Reverie, when Kugo Fushodan or Kugo Tofukai hits an enemy, the Wanderer has a chance to gain the Descent effect. The next time the Wanderer uses his alternate sprint to fly at speed, the Descent effect is consumed instead of Kugo Ryoku points, and several wind arrows are fired, each dealing animo damage. If a Kugo Fushodan or Kugo Tofukai does not trigger the descent effect, the chance of triggering the effect next time is increased.
Know your place.
Oh,
Okay then.
it's got some tude.
Casting the Wanderer's elemental burst compresses the surrounding air to form an animal plenum that blasts all sources of frustration away, dealing multiple bouts of AoE animo damage. Casting his elemental burst while in the wind-favored state brings this state to an end. Though Wanderer is his name, aimlessness is not his game, and he does not hesitate to take decisive action in pursuit of his goals. The Wanderer's elemental skill is his preferred means of doing battle. Once in the wind-favored state, he attacks from the air using his Kugo Fushodan and Kugo Tofukai to deal increased animo damage with a wider AoE. By coordinating with his teammates, he can benefit from a range of enhancements, which make him even more powerful in battle. When energy is full, the Wanderer unleashes his elemental burst, dealing several rounds of AoE animo damage in one fell swoop, devastating all obstacles that stand in his way. The world of Tevat has its own rules. They aren't perfect, though, and in some cases they are as delicate and fragile as the human heart. That's why I've been tasked with the job I have now, a job which gives me certain special privileges. I'm someone who likes having the freedom to live their own life, but I don't mind this job. It gives me the chance to see this world and everything that lives in it from a lot of different perspectives. People can find ways to forget, but they can't undo what they've done, and there's no escaping the past. The Wanderer learned this the hard way. But what about his future? Which way will the wind blow? A lot of people crave the power to predict the future, but I doubt the Wanderer cares for that. With a past like his, he knows the only way is forward, whatever lies ahead, for better or for worse.
Look at that smirk.
Yeah, well, he's certainly
Academia's
different from the
early
others you've
years,
seen.
researching ancient mechanisms meant deciphering numerous documents. So even though Faruzan is a Haravatat scholar, her mastery of runes led her to become one of the pioneer scholars in the field of ancient mechanics. But as the academic world progressed over the course of a century, Faruzan's dedication to this field was buried beneath the sands of time, just like her
Pretty close.
unusual fate.
I'll hang out with you youngsters.
Although she may look young, Faruzan is an experienced Haravatat scholar and mentor with a robust research background. Her control over the power of animo grants many new potential uses to her ancient trinkets. Researching mechanisms and solving puzzles is a hands-on process,
Yeah.
and one which has taken Faruzan all across Sumeru. Faruzan gains increased rewards when dispatched on a 20-hour expedition within Sumeru.
20-hour expedition? Damn.
Faruzan's normal attack can combo up to 4 consecutive shots, dealing physical damage. With a charged attack, Faruzan executes a more precise aimed shot that deals increased damage. While aiming, mighty winds accumulate on the arrowhead, and a fully charged arrow will deal animo damage.
Ooh, what the hell's that thing?
I don't know. It looks
Casting
intense.
Faruzan's elemental skill deploys a polyhedron device, dealing AoE animo damage and causing her to enter the Manifest Gale state. In this state, Faruzan's next fully charged shot will consume the Manifest Gale and turn into a hurricane arrow. This arrow deals animo damage based on the damage of her fully charged normal attack, Parthian Shot.
That's cool, knocking him
The
up.
hurricane arrow will apply a pressurized collapse
Knock him up, knock
effect
him
to
down.
the enemy or character hit.
Hurricane air.
This effect will be removed after a short delay, creating a vortex that deals AoE animo damage and pulls in nearby objects and enemies. If the arrow does not hit any enemy or character, it will create a pressurized collapse effect at its point of impact. The vortex damage is considered elemental skill damage.
Truth repeats its course.
Unleashing her elemental burst, Faruzan deploys a dazzling polyhedron that releases a whirlwind pulse and deals AoE animo damage. While the dazzling polyhedron persists, it will continuously move along a triangular path, Whenever it reaches a corner of that triangular path, it unleashes a whirlwind pulse. The whirlwind pulse will apply prayerful wind's benefit to all nearby party members, granting them an animo damage bonus. When the pulse hits an enemy, it will apply perfidious wind's bale to them, decreasing their animo resistance. After unlocking the talent Impetuous Flow, when Faruzan is in the manifest gale state created by her elemental
Wonder how long it
skill,
takes to unlock
the
these talents, because like
charging
a
time
lot
of her
of times she talks
aim shot
about
is
unlocking them.
decreased, and she can apply the perfidious wind's bale effect to enemies hit by the vortex created by pressurized collapse. As a veteran of academia, Faruzan never hesitates to impart her wisdom to the future generations. After unlocking the talent Lost Wisdom of the Seven Caverns, when characters affected by Prayerful Wind's benefit deal animo damage to enemies with a normal, charged, or plunging attack, or an elemental skill or burst, they gain the Hurricane Guard effect, increasing the damage dealt by a certain percentage of Faruzan's base attack. Hurricane Guard can be triggered only once within a set duration, and the effect is cleared after animo damage is dealt. Faruzan is unfazed by the fact that her field of research is now considered outdated. On the contrary, it has inspired new grit and determination. Faruzan starts battle by casting her elemental skill and quickly firing a hurricane arrow to deal animo damage to the enemy. The arrow's pressurized collapse effect then pulls in nearby enemies, providing support to her teammates. When energy is full, Faruzan unleashes her elemental burst to deploy a dazzling polyhedron. This device moves over the battlefield, creating whirlwind pulses and decreasing enemies' animo resistance, which effectively increases the team's animo damage. Make the most of Faruzan's carefully researched dazzling polyhedron, and the rest of the battle will be a breeze.
I see what you
Time is
did
a
there.
relative concept and is perceived differently by different people. 100 years is the longest life most people could imagine. Small wonder that they are fascinated by the idea of someone disappearing for this long, only to return looking not a day older than when they left. To Faruzan, those 100 years were physically exhausting and mentally taxing, yet she balks at the idea of seeking sympathy or being the topic of other people's conversations. Only convincing the academia's new enrollees to address her as Madam gives her experience some meaning. But if you ask me, age isn't much of a qualification. After all, time never really stops flowing. And although ancient wisdom should be respected, how long would it really take to erase it all?
Ooh.
Okay.
Well, you shouldn't do that.
No.
Scribe Alhaitham can be the easiest person in the academia to communicate with, or the most frustrating. He ignores the irrelevant and filters out the fluff, focusing solely on the logical steps and appropriate process for the task ahead. For
Okay.
his more pragmatic colleagues, this makes him a joy to work with, though not everyone shares their enthusiasm.
Let's get down to business.
Most scholars would jump at the opportunity to use a vision to further their research, and I thought Alhaitham would be no exception. Yet to my surprise, he prefers to use his elemental powers not for research, but to deal with other issues that arise in life. Thinking a step ahead of everyone else is bound to reap benefits. When Alhaitham crafts weapon
kicks ass
ascension
at chess.
materials, he has a chance
yeah.
to receive double the product, boosting the party's adventure readiness. Alhaitham's normal attack can combo up to 5 strikes with his sword, dealing physical damage. Using his charged attack, Alhaitham consumes a certain amount of stamina
I like the
and
sword.
performs 2 swift slashes to his front,
Green
dealing
one?
physical damage.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both green, but
Alhaitham's
one's like
elemental skill to
lights
rush
out.
forward, dealing dendro
I'm
damage
doing
to
that.
nearby enemies when the rush ends, as well as creating a
Happy
chisel-like
little
mirror.
block. Not so happy now.
Holding the skill enters
What just wants
aiming
to be there
mode to
and
adjust the direction of the attack. When this
Who's
skill is
supposed to dance?
cast, Alhaitham generates 1 chisel-light mirror, plus 1 additional mirror if he possessed no mirrors at the time of casting. Up to 3 chisel-light mirrors can exist at one time.
He's
He
crashing down.
possesses chisel-light mirrors. Alhaitham's normal, charged, and plunging attacks will be converted to dendro damage that cannot be overridden. When one of these attacks hits an enemy, the chisel light mirrors unleash a projection attack that deals AoE dendro damage based on the number of mirrors on the field. Chisel light mirrors will disappear in turn over time, and will all disappear when Alhaitham leaves the field. After unlocking the talent For Causal Correction, when Alhaitham's charged and plunging attacks hit enemies, they will generate one Chisel light mirror. This effect can only occur once in a specified period.
The process
Little
of
water
elimination.
has little ears.
Alhaitham's elemental burst creates a particular binding field that deals multiple instances of AoE dendro damage. If any Chisel light mirrors exist when this ability is used, they are all consumed to increase the number of damage instances
Oh,
dealt.
sweet.
Yeah.
Shortly after this ability has finished, if no mirrors were consumed, then Alhaitham will generate 3 new mirrors. For every mirror that was
raining
consumed
fire
by
on
this
these guys.
skill, Alhaitham will generate 1 less new mirror accordingly. When surrounded by mirrors, it takes a perceptive eye to distinguish reality from reflection. After unlocking the talent Mysteries Laid Bare, each point of elemental mastery that Alhaitham possesses increases the damage dealt by his projection attacks and elemental bursts. Damage can only be increased in this way up to a certain limit. To Alhaitham, remaining rational under pressure is the key to solving difficult problems. Luckily for him, this is an ability that few of his foes possess. Alhaitham's combat strategy is centered around the efficient use of his Chisel light mirrors. His elemental skill allows him to quickly traverse the battlefield, while dealing dendro damage to enemies and generating Chisel light mirrors. Then Alhaitham can use these mirrors and their projection attacks to easily gain the upper hand. When energy is full, Alhaitham unleashes his elemental burst, creating the particular binding field and dealing several bouts of AoE dendro damage. If he possesses no Chisel light mirrors at this time, some are generated after he has used his burst, allowing him to follow up with more attacks. If he already has mirrors when he casts his burst,
What
then
is
he is
that
able
thing?
to deal more
What?
dendro damage
Well,
and swiftly.
Is it like a
seize
dragon? Like a robot dragon?
Oh, that thing? Okay.
Like,
Yeah, robot dragon.
A
Sure.
comfortable life looks much the same for everyone, but the people who lead those lives may be nothing alike at all. A sharp mind and a good attitude have benefited Alhaitham immensely in his pursuit of the good life. It is not my place to judge how other people live. If anything, the more I say, the more jealous I would sound. The truth is, I have nothing against a laid-back lifestyle. It reminds me of a simpler time. But unfortunately, not all creatures are capable of being rational and logical in everything they do. Alhaitham's approach only works in the context of his relatively simple existence, and that is completely fine by him.
Okay, so not a big surprise here, but I liked the cocky guy the best, the Wanderer.
really?
I liked him. I mean, Alhaitham is number 2. But the Wanderer, I mean, I kind of want to see him and Arataki Ito, like, hang out and see, like, just have who can be cockier. And then Faruzan would be number 3. What for you?
The Wanderer was definitely my least favorite.
I figured.
I feel like he's Genshin's resident asshole. But like he's not on the bad guy side.
But he's so different from everybody else. That's why I liked him.
And yeah, and normally we've been going for the different ones, but he's definitely my least favorite. Alhaitham's version of cockiness was more attractive to me.
Yeah.
Because it was more just like focus, let's get down to business, like, that kind of thing versus the Wanderer who was like, keep your distance or I'm gonna pitch a temper tantrum. So
I also like that he could fly.
that was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that is credit where credit's due. Flying is cool. I think I would go. I mean, I really liked Faruzan too. I liked kind of like her studied field is kind of one that's not that it's kind of like becoming extinct or whatever. Like they talk about how like not many people are studying that anymore. I thought that her powers looked cool. So I would probably go Alhaitham, Faruzan, Wanderer.
Okay. Also with Alhaitham, I mean, I like Alhaitham's ability is kind of the best. I mean, I like the fact that Wanderer could fly, but Alhaitham, like the little like cylinder that he put people in and like raining down fire on them with like the arrows and whatnot. Like his abilities seemed like they could be, I don't know if diverse is the right word, but they seem like they're multifunctional. Like they could be used in a lot of different situations, and you can have a lot of different variations on how you use them and go about the fighting style. You probably wouldn't get bored playing as him. And also with the Wanderer, like they kept talking about his past. And something happened in his past, which I think made him a dick. So I kind of want to know more about that as well.
That's fair. I mean, his kind of standoffishness, his if he's fine as long as you don't get too close to him. I mean, and then like he's gonna kick up dust or what? Like that whole thing of like having a fit. People usually aren't that way by nature. That's usually something that's happened and gone awry in the nurture category. So,
as far as strength level, I don't know. I'll go Alhaitham, Faruzan, and Wanderer. I'll put Wanderer last.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Wanderer's probably the strongest because
No.
Let us know what you thought about these characters down below in the comments, and if you play with them in the game, let us know how you enjoy them, and if you want early ad-free access to our Genshin Impact reactions, because we react to this every Tuesday as we go through the Collected Miscellany playlist. Check out the description of this video. We got a link to our Patreon there. About a month ahead in our reactions for Genshin Impact. Thanks so much for checking out our reaction for Genshin Impact Collected Miscellany, but just keep in mind
that our reaction is definitely not definitive.